Hi, I'm Bruce Fretz from Closer Weekly. I'd like to introduce Richard Jenkins. I know, we got enough, you think? So tell me a little bit about how you got involved in Olive Kitteridge. I know it was really Frances McDormand's baby, and you'd worked with her before on several Coen Brothers films, correct?
Yeah, she sent me an email and said, I want you to do this part, Henry. I'm going to send you the script. Call me. And you don't say no to Fran McDormand. I read it, and I was just reading the book, in the middle of the book, when she sent me the script. And it's just a fabulous script. So that was it.
So what did you get from reading the book? I mean, did you read it with a different eye once you knew you were going to be playing Henry? Or?
I put it down before I finished it after the movie because the book isn't on the page in the script. So I put it aside and dealt with the movie, and then it was over. I went back and finished it.
And Lisa Cholodenko directed the film. Great filmmaker, made Kids Are All Right. What is her style like on the set?
Are we all actors here? Most of us actors? Yeah. We all like directors who, I don't like directors who look for something. I like directors who watch, to see what's there, see what's happened, see what you bring. That's Lisa Cholodenko. I just love her. I love her. She's and she sees everything. She sees everything. She won't move on unless she's happy. And I'm talking about a curtain hanging wrong in a window, or something that doesn't look real, or something that she's just in the moment constantly. That's the way she works, and I adored her.
This is a film about, in some ways, a long marriage with its ups and downs. And you have been married for 45 years, I believe. Is that correct? Your wife is here tonight?
That's right there.
I think
no, I've been married 45 years, but not to the same woman. I've been married, this is my third one. No.
You guys met in college, right?
We did. We went to a small school in Illinois Wesleyan, and
Wow.
Really? Somebody from Illinois Wesleyan or Illinois? And she wouldn't talk to me for the first couple of years, but then we dated our junior year and got married 22 years old. Yeah.
And I think your 46th anniversary is coming up soon, so if you haven't gotten her a card yet, you might want to stop by the pharmacy and pick one up.
Right. Henry would have done it. I'm not so sure I would.
I mean, do you draw on any of your real life experiences when you play a role like this?
Well, as I've said before, I didn't realize it till I started playing it that Henry reminds me of my mother. And my mother was the nicest person. If my mother didn't like you, you did something really bad. And I knew that as a kid, but I don't think I ever really appreciated it until I got older. And kind of when I did this part, I thought, man, she made the best of everything.
Yeah. And so you had known Frances McDormand for 10 or 15 years, I guess. But how do you create that sense of a couple that have been together for decades?
Well, 3 weeks of rehearsal. But we did. We rehearsed for 3 weeks. It was Fran's idea, and it was like I was 3 weeks. Oh, my God. I remember. It was the greatest 3 weeks. We sat around. We read. We just talked. We read. We went out to lunch. We read, talked. People came in, other actors for a day. We read with them. And so by the end of the 3 weeks, we were a couple. I've been friends with her for a long time, but I never shared the screen with her like this. And you know how brilliant she is, but it's how giving she is too. She roots for everybody. She wants. This is her baby. This miniseries. She got the rights. She bought the rights to it. She hired Jane Anderson. They worked on it for a year, 2 years. I'm not sure how long it is. She took it to HBO. She called me. She hired Lisa. She brought in a lot of people that she really loves and believes in. And it's so cool to see this happen from that for her, because she was there every second working on this thing, whether it was the plants in the garden or the plates in the kitchen or the meals. She, with the woman who did all the cooking, Fran, planned the meals, and it was amazing. She said to me, "Do you want to go pick out your props?" I said, "No, why don't you do it, Fran?" Because But I went to a prop meeting with her. It was about 3 hours. Like, wouldn't this be great? I said, yeah, this would be. But by the end of it, I was like, yeah, I think I like that. It was, once she commits to something, it's like, it's unbelievable, and it was just a privilege to be a part of it.
And working with Zoe Kazan, who was also nominated for an Emmy, as you were, and Francis was. How did you work out that relationship? But it could have come across as kind of creepy or pathetic. I mean, how did you kind of ride that line and still make it seem
I think it
sweet?
was a little creepy and pathetic. It actually, I was worried about that part more than any other, especially from a personal side. I mean, Denise had to be somebody who understood this young girl, didn't make fun of her, understood who she was, her optimism, things she was covering up. And Zoe came in and to rehearse. Lisa had cast her and said, "Wait to see her, she's amazing." And she came in and read, and I just went, "Oh, thank goodness," because I fell in love with her from the time she opened her mouth. I mean, she was fantastic. Yeah. She broke my heart constantly. Yeah.
You eat quite a lot in this episode.
Well,
and I want to say
I was going to say, you know something about my personal life.
Thank you for actually eating and not just pushing food around on your plate.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like, if you're going to eat a meal, eat a meal. I've never understood that. Have you ever watched Albert Finney, of course, in Tom Jones? He just never stops once he starts eating. But it was in, what's the Two for the Road?
Yeah.
Where he makes a sandwich. And he eats the sandwich, and it's about that thick, and it's dripping down his face. It makes you want to go out and make a sandwich. I mean, that's, and I love that. I just, if we're going to eat, we should eat. And I ate a lot of beans and a lot of stuff. But that's a little peccadillo of mine.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that.
Yeah, I can always tell when they go to put it in their mouth, and there's a line. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Squish it around the plate.
And you also have several scenes in this episode, particularly where you have to laugh, really crack up.
Yeah.
Things that Zoe does. How do you do that? I mean, do you have to think of something funny to laugh?
Zoe cracked me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I just adored her.
Yeah.
I mean, and Henry adored her, and it was easy. It was easy. With Fran, it was effortless. The whole thing was effortless. We all get things sometimes that just kind of, you go, man, that was easy. And then other times it's like banging your head against the wall. It's like a round peg in a square hole. But this entire project was, I think we worked on it for, 4 months, 5 months. I don't remember how many months. But it seemed effortless from the time we started to the time we ended because of I think of the writing and the people in it and the director,
And where did you shoot it? I mean, did the sense of place really help?
We shot it in Massachusetts, supposed to be Maine, but yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the accent come easily to you?
Nothing comes easy for me. I've lived in Rhode Island my whole life. I'm from Illinois, and I lived there my whole life. Since I was 22, since we've been married, we lived there. So, we hear the Rhode Island accent all the time. And I didn't know what it was when I first moved there. I thought I thought they had wooden sidewalks in Rhode Island, and people had shoes with big buckles on them and, blunderbusses. I thought of the Pilgrims, but... I didn't. I was working in a theater my first time, and I called a woman. She was going to donate costumes to the theater, and I called her up, and she said, "Hello." I said, "Hi, I'm calling from Trinity Repertory Company." She said, "What?" I said, "I'm calling from Trinity Repertory Company about donation." I can't understand you. I can't understand you. I can't. What are you from France? That was.
Well, you did grow up in Illinois. Your father was a dentist, correct?
Yes.
How did you get into acting? I mean, was it something that seemed possible as a career for you when you were coming up?
No, it didn't. That's why I wanted to do it, I think. I grew up in a farm town. It had a university there. It was a small university, but it was a DeKalb, Illinois. It was have you ever seen a flying ear of corn? It's a yellow, it says DeKalb with a big green wing on it. It was a hybrid corn town. It was all farmers, and I never saw a play till I was about 18. And I used to go to the movies every weekend, and I thought, how do you do that? That's what I want to do. And I told my father and mother, I was about, I don't know, 7th grade. I said, I want to be an actor. And I didn't know this until after my parents died, but I was in one play in junior high school, and my father called the teacher. My mom called the teacher and said, and this is what I mean about my mother being like Henry. She said, my son said he wants to be an actor, and my husband is going crazy. He said, this can't be. I won't let him do it. He can't do it. And she said, you have to talk some sense into him because he won't listen to me. So she said, all right, put him on the phone. So he got on the phone. He said, this is ridiculous. He can't do this. This is not, an adult doesn't make a living this way. And she said, look, if he really wants to do that and you don't let him, he will never forgive you for the rest of his life. If you're willing to have that, okay. And I never knew. I thought my father was my biggest supporter from and I wish I could thank both him and my mom for that. But I found that out years later.
You did work other jobs, though. Here's a fact I grabbed from the internet that may or may not be true. You once drove a truck for John C. Reilly's father.
I did. I drove a laundry truck in Chicago, and I worked on it about 5 months, 4 months. I had about 6 accidents. And I backed into garages. And I finally backed into the boss's car. The boss was sitting in the car when I backed into it. And I thought, I better be able to be an actor because I can't even drive a laundry truck.
And then you ended up playing John C. Reilly's father or stepfather?
I did.
Was it
Yeah,
Step Brothers?
We were the last week of Step Brothers. John C. Reilly said to I said to John, I knew he was from Chicago. I said, what does your dad do? And he said, oh, my dad died when he was 59, and my wife met him a couple of times. My kids never knew him. He said, it's sad. And I said, what did he do? He said, well, he was vice president of a laundry. And I said, oh, that's funny. My father-in-law drove a truck for Union Linen. He said, yeah, my dad was vice president of Union Linen. And all of a sudden, oh, your dad was John Reilly. I didn't put it together. I said, he was my boss when I was driving the truck. And he never fired me. I had 5 accidents. He never fired me. In fact, he brought his boat up to a lake that my father-in-law had a cottage on, and he brought all the kids, and I put them all in. John was 5. I put John C. Reilly into a boat when he was 5 years old. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And he said to me, he tugged on my pants, and he said, I'm going to make a lot more money than you someday.
So since this is for the Screen Actors Guild Foundation, do you remember what role got you your SAG card?
I did a couple of Theater in Americas. I don't know if any of you remember those. They were on PBS, and regional theaters across the country would do show. We did a thing called Feasting with Panthers about Oscar Wilde, and I had a small part in it. And I think at the time we were offered our SAG card. At that time it was $500 or something like that, which was like, but then it was like crazy. But I knew it was hard to get. So I jumped on it and joined. I don't think I used it until 15, 20 years later, but I kept my dues up. Yeah.
And your first film was Silverado, is that right?
Was it? I think it was my first, maybe, I did a movie with Horton Foote called On Valentine's Day. I think that might have been before.
Yeah. But I read that you had 2 lines in Silverado and got shot.
My first line was howdy, and then 7 weeks later, I said, you can't do that, and they shot me. But they wouldn't let me go home because I was a cover set. And if there was snow, I had to be there in case they wanted to shoot indoors. Well, they never used the cover set. I was there in a hotel in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with no car. The snow was up to here, and people would go to work every day. I had nothing to do, and it was brutal. It was brutal, but I went to a party. Larry Kasdan, I did a movie with Larry later on. I told him the story. It's true. It was about, I don't know, like 6.5 weeks into this thing. He had this big party for the cast, and he came over to me. He's a sweetheart, and he said, "Richard, how long you been here?" I said, 7 freaking weeks. And he said, no, I meant at the party. That was...
So you had worked for 10 or 15 years at the theater in Providence, right?
Right,
Before you really got into films.
right.
I mean, did you consider that paying your dues, or did you consider that just making a living as an actor and plying your trade?
Well, I always wanted to be in movies. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in movies. And I just didn't know how to do that. And when the chance came along, I jumped at it. And, I didn't have a plan, right, Sharon? We had no plans. We just kind of went month to month, year to year, and finally I said, I got to give this a shot. So I went to L.A. I got in my car, and our daughter was just born. It was 1975. I think I went to L.A., and I was out there for about 9-10 months, and it was just a disaster. And I came back and said, not going to happen, so we better figure out how to raise our daughter on what we're making. It was. It sounds really depressing, but it was actually kind of liberating. But once the chance came for me to be in a movie, that's when I took it. Yeah.
And once you did break into movies, you were working with some pretty big names right away. I mean, you worked with Jack Nicholson on Witches of Eastwick. I remember the first time I saw you was in Sea of Love with Al Pacino. I mean, were you intimidated by these guys?
Yeah, sure. But they're great guys. I mean, they're sweet. They're actors. I mean, they're actors, and they are supportive and complimentary and funny and really good. So it was, it didn't take long to realize that these folks are actors, and it was great to work with them. It was great.
And you've proven equally adept at comedy and drama. You've done a number of comedies with the Farrelly brothers, your fellow Rhode Islanders, and dramas with the Coen brothers. You work with a lot of brothers. I don't know if there's something to that
Well,
as a recurring pattern. But
well, there's 2 of them. That's
yeah.
the other thing, yeah.
But do you approach comedic and dramatic roles differently, or is it all the same to you?
No, it's the same.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's just, it's what's there. It's what's written.
Right.
I mean, you try to talk sense into Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and see how serious it comes out. I was...
You also seem to excel at playing, for lack of better words, seemingly ordinary characters and finding extraordinary drama in their lives. Is that something that you seek out?
Well, it interests me. I mean, I'm fairly ordinary. I think I always would see people. I used to look at people looking in windows at stores and pet shops and looking at animals and think, what is their lives? What are they? Are they alone? Does he go home alone? I mean, the people that nobody notices. For me, it's kind of how I felt for a long time. Maybe that's why I responded to that or thought about that. So when I think I understand people that are kind of in the background.
Well, I think Olive Kitteridge is a perfect example of that, and also the film The Visitor, for which you were nominated for a Best Actor Oscar.
Thank you.
What was it like at that stage of your career to be getting a role like that and then getting nominated and going to the Oscars, and suddenly people are asking you what you're wearing? And I mean, it must have been a bit of a shock to the system.
Yes, it was. Tom McCarthy, who said we were actually on New York. We just started filming The Visitor, and he goes, I wanted somebody who could walk down the street in New York and nobody would know them. And as soon as he said that, I went by and said, hey, you're from 6 Feet Under, aren't you? I love that. That was like, yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, Tom, again, called me and said, I wrote this part, read it, and tell me if you want to play it. And I read it, and I called him up, and I said, nobody is going to do this movie with me in this role. You're not going to get money for this. And he said, that wasn't my question. My question is, you want to do it. You let me worry about the money. And I said, yes, I do. And he did. So it was incredible. It was incredible. But I knew it when I was doing it. It's the nice thing about being older when things happen for you. Because you understand it on a level you couldn't have understood it when you're 20 or 21. So you're grateful. You know that these things don't just come along very often. You know how hard everybody in this union works, how many great actors there are that you don't ever see. I mean, great actors. I have never been on a movie where somebody comes in for a day play or 2 days that they're not just fantastic. Because how many people audition for that part? And how many people were just as good, but maybe were too tall, a little old, a little young? There's a gajillion great actors. And if you don't understand that, and sometimes when you're 18, 17, it's hard to understand that. But when you hit 35, 45, 60, you know it. And hopefully, and I was grateful. I was grateful. I still am. I find it amazing. Anybody would come here tonight. I just find it amazing. Oh, I know it's the TV. You get to see that for free. But,
You mentioned 6 Feet Under. You played a dead guy for
I do that best, actually. That's right.
6 or 7 years there. How did you bring that character to life?
Well, I was the only dead guy that aged. That was the problem. You look at me in season 5 and season 1 wait a minute, he's deteriorating just like a dead man. I never knew what he was. He was whoever I was, whoever thought about me. If my daughter thought about me, I was different. If my one son thought about me, I was different. If my other son, if my wife, it just depended on who my scenes were with. I was a different person. So I really never knew who the guy was. That was fascinating.
What actors influenced you coming up? I mean, who were your role models as a?
Well, Brando. I mean, but I'm 68 now, and Tracy. I love Spencer Tracy. I just love him. I still love him. I mean, there's so many great actors, so many great performances. But I know that when I first saw On the Waterfront, it was like, what is that? I mean, it was extraordinary. And I was smart enough, he was good enough to make a dope like me see what it is, what's possible. So I've always been, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do. I used to say I wanted to be in the church when I was young, so I know people would go, oh, that's so sweet. But I don't want to be. I want to be a minister. Do you? Oh, he's such a sweet boy. Yeah. No, I don't want to be a minister.
What's the best bit of advice you've ever received as an actor?
You're enough. It's hard for a young actor. I say this like it's true for everybody. It was hard for me to believe that I had anything to offer. That I could never be Laurence Olivier. And we in drama school and college, and they show you these films and go, can you be that good? And you go, no, I can't do that. And so you were always trying to live up to some other person's brilliance. And it took me a long time to realize that, if you're going to do this, you have to believe that you have something to offer. And that it's got to come from you. And that you are enough. Barbara Cook, the singer Barbara Cook, did a master class with singers, young singers, and that's what she would say to them. You don't understand. Quit trying to be like Pavarotti. You're not Pavarotti. He's not you. You're enough. And it's hard. It was hard for me to believe that. So when you do something that resonates, it's what an actor's job is. That's what you love. That's the way you communicate. That's your art. I can't write. I can't sing. I can't dance. But, I can interpret a role through me. And if you respond to that, that is the greatest feeling of accomplishment. Because what it's saying is we are all the same. We all have things that are common, and you understand. It's hard to believe that you can do something and somebody will understand it if it comes from you. But that's the essence of what we do. I'm probably the only one in this room that had to figure that out. And they're all probably out there going, "Oh, I knew that. Come on, what are you talking about?" But it was hard for me. It took me a long time to realize it, and I sucked for a long time. I still have my moments where I'm not too great, but it was just a huge moment for me.
I wanted to ask you about another favorite film of mine, of yours, which I don't think a lot of people saw, which came out fairly recently, which was God's Pocket, which John Slattery directed. If you haven't seen it, go out and watch it tonight after you finish watching Olive Kitteridge. What was that, making that film like? You worked with a number of actor-turned-directors through the years. Robert Redford, Tom McCarthy was an actor as well, is an actor.
Yeah, it was great. John Slattery's he's aces. He's just a great guy. The truth is, I don't have any, do you have bad things? Most people you work with are fabulous people in this business, People go, "Oh, that Hollywood, those people in Hollywood." Thank God for them, they're just a lot of fun, smart, interesting, funny people, and John is one of them. He's a really smart guy, good guy. Yeah.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman was also in that film. I'm sure a lot of people in this audience probably crossed paths with Phil. In New York. What was that experience like?
Well, it was like I really only had one scene with him, maybe two, but we had an all-night shoot, and we sat around, and I didn't know him before this, and we talked for 10 hours. We just talked about. I asked him a million questions. He asked me a lot of questions, and for that 10 hours, he's a cool guy. He's an amazing guy. He's fabulous in God's Pocket. He's great.
He really is. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. And you also have a love scene with Christina Hendricks in that film, as I recall.
Now that's creepy. That's creepy, not because of Christina, but it's creepy. Yeah. Those days, well, they were never here, but they should definitely be gone by now. My God.
So you have two children. Have either of them followed in your acting footsteps?
My daughter was an actress for a while and decided not to do it anymore, and she's a writer now and doing very well. She just won Best Screenplay at the Woods Hole Film Festival about 2 days ago. Yeah. Yeah, she's a wonderful writer, and she writes for Nickelodeon Junior now. She's doing 2 series she writes on. And my son, and her husband is a writer too, so a fabulous writer. He is a creator of a series called Wally Kazam on, if you have young kids, and The Odd Squad on PBS. He's a creator of that. And my son is a CPA in PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Oh, yeah?
In Boston, yes, yeah. And was a great drummer. Was going to go to the University of Miami to be to major in drum performance major. And at the last minute he said, "No, I'm not going to do this, Dad. I'm going to be an accountant." And I'd be the only father go, "What, are you crazy? Be a drummer. Come on, what are you talking, Andy?"
I guess that's how you rebel when your father's an actor. You become an accountant.
It's like numbers, Dad, numbers. But he's very happy. He loves his job, loves his work. Yeah, I have 2 amazing kids. We have incredible kids.
And you've got some interesting roles coming up as well. We were talking a bit backstage about LBJ. You haven't started filming yet, but you're going to be working with Woody Harrelson playing LBJ and Rob Reiner directing. You've worked with both of them before as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the script and your character?
It's really an interesting script. It jumps back and forth between the day that President Kennedy was shot and LBJ trying to get the civil rights bill through. And I play Richard Russell, who is a Georgia senator who is not for this bill. It's an interesting part. But we haven't started yet, and we'll see.
So you're working on your Georgia accent now?
Yeah. I have been. And, I'm not going to do it here. You don't pay me anything.
No, I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to ask.
Do your bad Georgia accent for us. No.
I mean, since you do tend to play, more ordinary characters, do you find it harder to find those kind of roles when so many movies are now about people with extraordinary superhuman abilities and,
Well, no. I mean, I play a lot of people that you can't quite figure out. I did a movie called Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell and Patrick Wilson and help me, Sharon. Matthew Fox, right? And I play the world's oldest deputy. I'm not even a deputy. I'm a backup deputy, and it's not. It's different. It's different. It's a great part. It's a great part. But I do a lot of. I do some odd things, some odd characters. Sometimes in movies nobody sees, but.
Well, what interests you in a part? I mean, what does it have to have for you to say yes?
I have to like the writing, and I have to look at it and say, can I bring something to it? Sometimes I'll read it and love the part and think, there's 20 guys I know that could do this better than me. And I'll pass on it because it's, but if I read it and say, I get this, I have something to offer here. I think I could bring this guy to life. I see something in there that interests me, then I'll do it. And if the money's right.
Any roles that you passed on that you regretted afterwards?
Let's see. Michael Corleone. Right. I was like 9. Come on. No. You worry about that if you do pass on something that it's going to be like the blockbuster of all. No. I can't think of any.
Yeah. I read there were a couple that you wanted that got away, though, particularly in Coen Brothers films.
Oh, yeah. But that was, I wanted to play the part that Bill Macy played in Fargo, and I read a couple of times. They brought me back. I'm like, yeah, they got that. And then they didn't. I didn't hear from them, and I went, Jesus. And then I saw Fargo, and I went, oh, okay. I get it now. I wouldn't have cast me either. There's an example of the right guy for the part. I mean, he was brilliant in it and effortless. And then they wanted me to do a part in Miller's Crossing. Miller's Crossing? Yeah. And I read 2 or 3 times, and my manager called me up and said, oh, great news. It's between you and Albert Finney. I said, well, who would you cast? What, are you kidding me? So so I went. I read for all their movies. They never cast me. So finally, the man who wasn't there, they called me. I said, no, I'm not coming in anymore. And then Ethan called me and said, we want you to do this part. I said, is that how you get a part in a Coen Brothers movie? Just refuse to come in? So that's how that started.
Well, we had talked previously about Olive Kitteridge, and I think you mentioned that you were a little concerned about aging over the course of the film, particularly playing the younger version of Henry. I mean, how much hair and makeup did you have to go through to...
About 2 hours for 50 and about 6 minutes for 75. It was unbelievable. 75, they looked at me and go, no, I think you're good. No, that's right. Man, doing something? You want to do something to me? No, I don't think so. I think it would make you a little younger. I think we could do that. But boy, when I was 50, they had me... They I don't know if you've ever done this, guys, but if they put tape and they put an elastic thing, because this is what you can't hide this. Unless you stand on your head. I mean, Henry is a gymnast, and I could do the whole thing on my head, but you can't hide that. This is the deal. You can't be doing this. So they do this, and they pull it back, and it just feels like you're tied to the wall. And It took a long time to get me to 50. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How do you feel about wearing wigs in general? Do you like?
I don't mind. No, I don't mind at all. No.
Do you like changing your appearance a lot for roles?
Well, in
or-
general, I mean on the street. You talking? No, I love that. I love accents. I love physicality. I love changing. I love that stuff. I love it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It helps. Sometimes it's very helpful.
Yeah.
And
I think you also told me that you felt like Henry was very happy in his marriage. That in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he was. People would say to me, "Oh, what a life you had," and I was like, "I wasn't so bad. I was kind of nice." I mean, I got something from her. She got something from me. I understood it completely when we were doing it. I didn't, I understood the fact. I loved when she would just give somebody the knife. I could never do that, and she was like, "Ugh." And sometimes it would embarrass me, but it's still, you kind of go, "Yeah, that's my wife." Yeah, yeah. I loved her intelligence. I loved her dryness, her sense of humor. I got it. I got it. I got it when I read it. I mean, some people say to me, "Oh, she's so mean." How could? She isn't. She isn't. I mean, I never felt that.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned this character was a lot like your mother. What character have you played that's the most like you?
Well, they all are, kind of. I mean, that's where they all come from, different parts of me. But I felt, it's funny, I felt really close to Walter Vale in The Visitor.
Yeah.
I understood him. I mean, there were a couple of scenes where Tom had me in the crowd, and people just kind of walked by, and I was like, I love this, because you are in the background, but the camera is on you, so it's, yeah. You're the guy looking in the pet store window, all alone in the mall. Nobody's paying attention to him, but somebody is. Yeah.
Well, everyone's paying attention to you now, so congratulations on all of Kitteridge and the Emmy nomination, and
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
We really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
coming. Thank you very much.